am Tammy Coleman, Associate Director of Connectional Ministries. I want to welcome you to these training videos for safe sanctuaries. We want to thank you for your commitment to safe sanctuaries and to implementing the policies that we are going to talk about. These are often the things that we may not want to do, but we know that they are necessary because we want to make sure that all those who enter our doors enter into a safe place. And so we want to talk in this segment about what is safe sanctuaries and why do we as churches need to implement a safe sanctuary policy. Safe sanctuaries has become a term that we have used, and it is based on a series of books that was written by a United Methodist pastor, and she's also a lawyer, Joy Melton. She began addressing what needed to be addressed for a long time in our churches, and that is to create a set of standards in order to keep our children and our youth and vulnerable adults safe in our churches. And so these set of standards and this policy that we will talk about today will help create layers and will help create an awareness so that we can be diligent in creating that safe place and make sure that we are a place of trust once again. Here in the Kentucky Conference, we have a Safe Sanctuaries policy. And this policy can be found on our website, and it serves as a minimum standard for each of our congregation to follow. And so we hope that you will look at your individual place and to establish above the minimum standards that will ensure safety for those who attend your congregation. We want to make sure that you remember that you can add to the policy of the Kentucky Annual Conference to make sure that your sanctuary and your ministry opportunities are the safest that they can be, but you cannot take away from that policy in any way. You may be asking, what is a vulnerable adult? You've used that term several times, and what exactly does that mean? A vulnerable adult is someone who is not able to care for themselves, someone who is not able to defend or protect themselves. And often life situations put us in a place where we may be more vulnerable than we have been in the past. We ask for local congregations to begin to examine and think through who in our community is a vulnerable adult, and to make sure that they are considered when making your policy for your local church. Why do we have safe sanctuaries? There are a number of reasons, and I want to address a few of those today. One is Scripture. All that we do is based upon Scripture. Do you remember when Jesus gathered together a group of little children and he blessed them and he told the adults that were there, "Whoever welcomes a little child like this in my name welcomes me." We want to make sure that every person who enters into our ministry setting, we are welcoming as if they were Jesus himself. We want to be proactive and not reactive in providing a place of safety for our children. Another reason why we do safe sanctuaries is because we have made a covenant. We have made a promise with those who are baptized that they will have a place where they can grow spiritually. I want you to recall with me the baptismal ritual that we have in our church. The pastor says to the congregation, "Members of the household of faith, I commend to your love and to your care this person," whether it's an infant, whether it's a child or a youth or an adult, whom we this day recognize as a member of the family of God. And then, as a congregation, we are able to say together, and I invite you to do that with me now, with God's help, we will so order our lives after the example of Christ that this child, surrounded by steadfast love, may be established in the faith and confirmed and strengthened in the way that leads to life eternal. Again, we've made a promise to that child, to that youth, to that adult. We've made a promise to God, more importantly, that we will provide a place where that child can grow and learn to love Him. Another reason we have safe sanctuaries is because we live in a broken world. We wish that was not our reality. We wish that we lived in a place where sin did not affect our homes, where it did not break our churches, and where our communities were not affected. But our reality is that we live in this broken world with broken people. And our churches, and our communities, and our homes are greatly affected by this. Abuse abounds. We only have to turn on the evening news to see how abuse, in its many different forms, affects our society. Abuse means the harm or the threat of physical or emotional harm to a child, to a youth, or a vulnerable adult. And this can be committed by a parent or a guardian or another person. Abuse includes the infliction of physical or emotional injury. It includes the creation of a risk or allowing the creation of a risk to a child or a youth. And it also is the committing or the allowing to be committed of the act of sexual abuse, sexual exploitation, or prostitution upon that child, youth, or vulnerable adult. Latest statistics show that 1 out of every 4 girls will be abused in some way by the time they reach adulthood. And the statistics show that 1 in every 6 boys will be abused. The other alarming fact about this is that 90% of those who are abused know their abuser. It is sometimes a family member or a family friend, a neighbor, or perhaps someone at church. Their youth pastor, their youth counselor, Sunday school teacher, or even pastor. We live in a broken world where abuse abounds, and that is another reason why we have safe sanctuaries. But the last and the most important reason why we have safe sanctuaries is because we care. Jesus commands that we love as He loved. And if we are faithful to do that, if we are faithful to care about what happens to each person, whether it's a child or a youth or an adult, then that means that we care. We love because He first loved us.